Today, we're going to be creating a calendar in Google Sheets, and I'm going to show you how you can set it up to make it dynamic so that when you change the month or the year, it'll automatically update for you. So I'm going to start by entering in some inputs here where we can change the month and the year. So in A3, I'm going to type in May and then 2026 in row 4 here. So the idea being we can update these values and our calendar will update. But before we get started in actually setting up the calendar, it's important to set up some key inputs. The first one being the starting date value. So for May 2026, I didn't enter it as May 1, 2026, because the idea being I want this to be easy and user-friendly so someone just makes that selection. They don't have to worry about keying in May 1st, 2026. But what I can do is use the date value function to then convert this string into an actual date. And so you can see it's calculating to a number here. And if I convert that by going to more formats and putting it to a date, it shows me May 1st, 2026. So that's the value that I actually want to use. But these are the values that the user will input in case it's you or whoever else. But the idea being this should be an easy change to make as opposed to having to key in May 1st or the case. You just want to have a drop down for the month. And so this makes it a lot easier and cleaner to do. The next value is arguably the most important one, and that is to calculate the first day of the week, because May 1st doesn't start on a Monday. I need to calculate what day it actually falls on and then adjust for if I want my calendar to start on a Monday or on, let's say, a Sunday. So to calculate the day of the week, I can use the weekday function in Google Sheets and select this value. It returns a value of 6 because based on Google Sheets' default settings, 6 would be Friday. A value of 2 would be for Monday. So if I want my week to start on a Monday, I need to calculate that difference. So 6 minus 2 would be 4. Now, there's an easier way to do that as opposed to just setting up complex calculations like that. And that's by changing this second argument. So I haven't filled it in, but there's this option for type. So if I click on learn more, it'll show me the details of this argument here. So by default, the 1 is set to where Sunday equals a value of 1, Monday equals a value of 2, and so on. So 6 would be Friday, Saturday would be 7. But if I wanted to start on a Monday, I can change this argument to a value of 2 or a value of 3. If I set it to 3, then Monday is actually 0. And then so whatever day of the week it falls on, that's going to represent the difference from that day to Monday. So that argument, putting a value of type 3 is actually preferable in that case because that's going to tell me the difference. So if I use 3 for that, it tells me right there, that's a difference of 4 days. So rather than calculating this weekday and subtracting 2, this effectively does that for me. Now, what if you did want your week to start on a Sunday? Then what you could do is just eliminate this argument and instead just add a 1. Because if you recall here, this type 3 says Monday is set to 0. Here, Sunday is set to 1. So we're losing that 0 option there. So we're effectively adding that back to say the calculation's already set at 1 by adding this plus 1. So maybe a little bit confusing. So what I'd suggest is just playing around with the settings to get them to calculate correctly based on how you want it to set up. But I'm using Monday as an example here. And for this one, the type is going to be 3. So that's going to be my difference here. And so to calculate the first day of the week, I'm going to take that initial value here for May the 1st and subtract this weekday calculation. And that puts me at April 27th, 2026, which is the correct one. What I'm also going to want to calculate is the last day of the month. And for that, I'm going to use the EO month function and select this value for May 1st. And I'm going to calculate just the month and for the current month. So I'm not jumping ahead any month. So I'm just setting this to 0. I just want the current month. And so now with these dates, now I can go and set up my actual calendar. So I'm going to start by setting up my values for the different days of the week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And up above here, I'm going to reference my month. So May 1st, 2026. I'm going to spread that across here, merge these cells, and just make it stand out a bit. And I can adjust the formatting here. So if I click on more formats, I can go to custom date and time and specify that I want it to look something where I've got just the month and the year, which is what I have here, August 1930. So it shows me that layout. But if there's a different format that I want to use, I can select from here, or I can make adjustments right in here. So this month and year format is what I want. So if I didn't have it, I could have clicked on here and it'll populate that formula. So based on your selections, it's going to update what that format would look like. So I'm going to stick with this one where I've got the month and the year, click apply, and now I've got that set up. So I'll apply some formatting to this just to make this stand out a little bit and center these dates. And now I can go to work on actually calculating these initial values. And I'm going to do that using the sequence function. So the sequence function is going to return a list of values for me. Now I only want one row to start. I want 7 columns for each day of the week. My starting value is going to be this all-important starting value that I calculated earlier. For the step value, that's 1 because I'm just jumping ahead one day at a time. And now when I do this, it's filled in those values for me. Now, obviously, this doesn't look correct because I just have the values. I want to convert this into a date format. And so now I can confirm that those date values are correct. I'll change the look of these later, but initially, I want to make sure that everything's calculating correctly. Now, with the calendar, we obviously want more than just dates. We want some space to enter in events, meetings, important items that we need to track. So I'm going to leave 3 spaces here. And now what I can do is add another formula for the sequence function. Again, I'm going to set up 1 row, 7 columns. My starting value this time is going to be the end of the previous week. So May 3rd, 2026, I'm going to add a 1, and then the step value is going to be 1 again. So I'm going to start from May the 4th and increment by 1. And that's what it's doing here. And if I want to copy the formatting that I've already used, I can select this value here, click on the format painter, and apply it to these cells. And now it updates without having to go into the different formatting options. Now that I've got this, I'm going to copy this, and again, jump 3 spaces down, paste, 3 spaces down again, paste, and basically repeat these values until I've got enough rows that I think I need. So this goes into June, so I'm good with that. So I've got all those values filled in. Now that I can see that the values are correct, I'm going to just test it out to make sure that if I jump ahead to June 2026, everything updates accordingly, and June starts on a Monday, which is correct. We can see that July starts on a Wednesday, so let's update this to July as well, just to make sure that is correct. So that also starts on a Wednesday, which is correct. So I'll go back to May now. So everything looks correct here. Now what I'm going to do is adjust the format of these dates to make sure I just see the day value, not the month and the year as well. So for this first value, I'm going to go into the custom date and time again. And this time I'm going to get rid of the month and the year, and I'm going to delete the slashes here. So I'm left with just the day. I could have clicked on this as well, but you can also update it right within this formatting here. I'm going to click apply, and now I've got that value of 27 just for the day of the month. And now with the format painter, I can apply this to the other values as well. And let's copy this as well to all these other ones. And so now it's a whole lot easier than going one by one or trying to select all the cells at once. And so now I've got the day values as you'd normally expect. And so now at this stage, what you may want to do is apply some formatting to adjust how you want your calendar to look. So what I may want to do is add some outlining here and then copy that across to every day of the week, apply an outline to these values here, and maybe highlight them in a different color as well, maybe a black fill color and a white font, just to make them differentiated from the rest of the calendar. And now, once you're happy with the look of that first week, what you can do is copy that formatting, just like I did earlier, using the format painter. The key thing is to make sure you're selecting the right cell, that first initial value, so that everything pastes properly, and repeat over and over again until we've got all the weeks filled in. So now I've got my calendar correctly set up. We've got everything the way we want to look. What I want to do is remove the grid lines. So if I go to View, Show, and uncheck grid lines, now it's a lot cleaner of a look. Now, the one thing you may also want to do is adjust how these values before the start of the month appear. Because right now we've got 27, 28, 29, 30, but our month actually starts on Friday, May the 1st. So what I can do here is set up some conditional formatting rules. So I'm going to select this first row of values and go to Format, Conditional Formatting. And I'm going to select the option to create a custom formula to say, if this value comes before the start of the month, then treat it differently. And the key thing I'm going to do is put an equal sign and start with C4. That's the initial starting value of my range. So it's important that I start with that cell. And I'm going to look at if it's less than this starting value in A6. And I'm going to freeze the cells there. So $A, $6. And so right away, you can see the formatting is not applying to these values here, just the ones before. And what I could do is change the fill color and the font color to black to make them effectively disappear. Or I could highlight them in a different shade just to make it clear that these values are before the start of the month. So either way, you've got flexibility in how you want to set that up. I may also want to do the same thing for the last week of the month here. So I select these values here, and I'm going to click on Done here because I'm setting up another conditional formatting rule. In this case, my range starts at C24. So I'm going to go to Custom Formula and look at C24. This time, if it's greater than my ending value here in A8. Again, that's going to be frozen. So $A, $8. And I'm going to apply a black fill color, or I can actually set it to none because then that's basically saying it's not going to change my fill color. And instead adjust the font color. So let's say I want it to be a dark gray as well. So everything after the 31st, after the end there, is applied. And in the event that this week falls, this particular week falls after the month end, then I can just copy this formatting as well. Use the format painter. So it's going to also apply the conditional formatting rules to that row as well. So now if I change this to, let's say, June 2026, you can see now I've got that formatting applied to this row as well as that one again. In this case, I don't have any because the month started on a Monday. But let's say I change this to July, and now it'll update and shade those values or change the color of those values as well. So I've got a different color for the values for the dates that come after the month end and before the start of the month as well. The last thing I'd probably want to do at this stage is hide these values. So I'm just going to set the font color to white so that they're not visible, making it really easy now to see how my template works and where the values users should be focusing on, just to make sure they're not accidentally making changes to those ones. So now the template becomes really easy to use and adjust and make changes to. One other thing you may want to consider doing is, as opposed to just entering the day values here, you can add a drop-down list. So if I go to Data and then select Data Validation, I'm going to add a rule. So I can specify drop-down options in here. So for example, let's say I type in January, February, March, April, May, June, July. And so by doing this, now you're restricting the options that a user can select from. So that way they're limited to make sure there's no data entry errors, and just makes your template look a lot cleaner and more professional to use. So that wraps up this video. I'll leave a link in the description for this video for the template that I've created here in case you want to use it, or if you just want to reference it to help guide you in setting up your own template. If you enjoyed this video and you did learn something, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.